This podcast is entitled Coffee Staining of the Skin, and what this really means is the sort of dirty appearance that a skin acquires with photoaging or with long-term sun damage. We oftentimes look at doing deep chemical peels, full-face lasers, or things like that to clean this up, but I have been actually really impressed with a compounded hydroquinone therapy that I've been using called Brightener. It's freshly mixed, which really has made the biggest difference. And the way that this compounding pharmacist has put together all the different types of natural ingredients as well with it, I've seen a cleanup within a few days, even to a week or so. It's just a simple pad that you apply twice a day onto the skin. And unfortunately, I can't mail this out to people outside of Dallas. So this is a prescription level therapy. But the nice thing with it is that this therapy is safe in all skin types, even to African American. I do it from Fitzpatrick 1 to 5. That is basically an individual that is incredibly fair skin, like Irish, all the way to dark skin. And I don't have any real issues because it's really working on abnormal pigmentation. And that's one thing really good, because after Fitzpatrick 4, which is basically Hispanic, Asian, if you will, past Mediterranean, I really can't do deeper lasers. And this one is also very inexpensive, very safe, very easy. So I worked a little bit backwards. I talked about sort of the punchline, which is the therapy of how to treat this. But I want to go back and talk a little bit about why this is so important. If you sort of look at an individual and see that they look older, there's so many components to the aging process, from wrinkles and sagging and volume loss, et cetera. We know about all these things, and we've discussed a lot of those concepts in these podcasts. But one of the big things that we overlook is how the skin looks. And I'm not talking about wrinkles. I'm not talking about, dynamic wrinkles when you smile, or saggy creases. And I'm not even talking about a rough texture to the skin. I'm talking about a dirty appearance to the skin. It can even happen in younger individuals. It can be the first sign of photoaging or photo damage, photo being referring to the sun. If you think about a 20-year-old who tans, that person tans very evenly. And as that person gets older, there are two things that happens. One is when they tan, the tan does not look very even. It looks splotchy. It looks like someone spilled coffee on a white tablecloth, patchy and not even, and that's a sign of aging. And also sometimes, even if that individual doesn't acquire a lot more sun, there is a coffee-stained appearance to the skin that can be a sign of aging. Other things that can cause a coffee-stained appearance would be after pregnancy, other types of hormonal changes. Now, this particular product can be very effective for that, but it's not as durable, the results, as when it's coming from a sun source. In other words, if there's a metabolic condition that's causing a pigmentation issue in the skin, even though the therapy can be quite effective, the metabolism will bring it back. It's the same thing with sun, though. If you're out in the sun and you get a lot more sun, then the sun can bring back the pigment. And you say, well, why would it even be worth treating it? Well, the goal in all therapies is to have good therapy long term, and that means to avoid sources that can cause the problem. So example is, if you're a dentist, you would say don't eat candy because it's going to lead to cavities. As a facial plastic surgeon focused on facial rejuvenation, I would say don't get too much sun, because not only is it going to cause the splotchiness, but it's one of the best ways to get older fastest, especially for fair-skinned individuals. I always say that fair-skinned Caucasian individuals in particular should not be living in Australia or America where there's a lot of sun. They were meant to be living in London and Europe, where there's probably overcast, and that limits the photo damage and aging that occurs with fair skin. So the biggest thing you can do, besides a good lifestyle, good rest, a good diet, to help against aging, and I've talked about this in many podcasts, is to try to limit your sun exposure. Wear sunblocks, wear a large, what I call Asian hat, which is one of those big brim hats, and just don't get in too much direct sun rays if you can. And that is what will also protect and preserve what you're going to get with this topical therapy. So same thing is like if a year later you get some more sun, you just do this therapy again. Now with this therapy, it's not safe to be doing it and then getting a lot of sun too, it can cause a photo burn or a sunburn to the skin, which is not safe. So it would be when you're getting moderate degrees. And what's moderate degrees? Just mean like you're driving the car, you're going around town outside shopping, but you can't be at the beach lying out for long term. If you're going to be doing gardening, you have to wear a very large hat to protect yourself. But one of those things that you may not have thought about in terms of aging, and the classification of aging, we always talk about, in terms of wrinkles and crinkly skin and ugly looking, bad sort of textured skin or acne scars, or we talk about things of that nature. And we don't really get down to just a very simple early sign that doesn't need fancy therapies to manage it, but just this coffee stained appearance of the skin.